Well, good morning, everyone, and you are very welcome to this morning's masterclass remotely from the National Concert Hall. In fact, none of us are in the National Concert Hall, but nevertheless, we bring you this trumpet masterclass in the third in our series of autumn masterclasses. And we are delighted to welcome the wonderful trumpeter, Mark O'Keefe, who will be working with three of Ireland's up-and-coming young trumpeters. And thank you very much, Mark, for being with us this morning. Mark has held the post of Principal Trumpet with the BBC Scottish Symphony Orchestra since December 1996. In addition to his career with the BBC SSO, he plays chamber music with Scottish-based Red Note Ensemble and has been guest Principal Trumpet with the World Orchestra for Peace, London Symphony Orchestra, London Philharmonic Orchestra, City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra, Royal Scottish National Orchestra, Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra, Royal Opera House Orchestra, BBC Symphony Orchestra and the Halle Orchestra. So that's quite an impressive lineup of orchestras in your portfolio, Mark. Mark was awarded a Creative Scotland bursary in 2004 for a collaborative project with Theatre Cryptic, and he teaches at the RCS Glasgow, the RNCM Manchester, and was awarded a distinguished alumnus from the CIT Cork School of Music in 2018. Mark, we're delighted to have you, and thank you again for taking this masterclass this morning.
Thanks very much, Nigel.
So Mark will be working with, as I said, three of Ireland's up and coming trumpet players, and the first of these is Leo Brychta. Leo is a 17-year-old trumpet player studying with David Collins in the Royal Irish Academy of Music, and he's been playing music from a very young age with a specific interest in orchestral playing. He's been principal trumpet of many orchestras, such as the National Youth Orchestra of Ireland, the Irish Youth Wind Ensemble, and the Ulster Youth Orchestra. He also has had many competition successes in the Feis Ceoil and has received various awards in Ireland and internationally. Leo also has an interest in chamber music. Last year, along with a few friends, he founded a brass ensemble by the name of Vox Amicum Brass and wishes to continue to perform alongside and develop the ensemble. Leo, delighted to have you with us this morning, and thank you for participating in this masterclass.
Thank you very much for
having me. For those of you watching, the format of this masterclass will be three participants. Each participant will have approximately 40 minutes. We will move more or less straight from the first to the second participant. After the second participant, we'll have a very short break, just about 3 minutes to stretch the legs, get a breath of air, and then we will proceed with our third and final participant, and that will be followed with a short Q&A session. So if you are watching out there and would like to direct questions to Mark, he will be very happy to answer them during that Q&A session. These questions can be asked via our social media channels on YouTube, on our Facebook channel, and we will relay them to Mark. So we hope very much that you enjoyed this morning's session, and I will leave you now, Mark, with Leo for the first participant of the masterclass. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Nigel, and can I say what a pleasure it is to be standing in my basement of my house. Sadly not the National Concert Hall in Dublin, but in my house in Glasgow, where I've lived now for, not just in my basement, but in Glasgow for coming up to 24 years, and it feels like yesterday since I left Dublin. I used to work at the National Concert Hall back in the day from around about 1992 to 96. So Leo, it's all ahead of you, and you've got a great career ahead of you. I know that already. So we're here just to play some nice music, and yeah, we're here to listen, and if we can help, great. Very often I think the way forward with helping is that we help ourselves, really. So most of the stuff that you'll be thinking about will be yours, and you'll improve your own game, if you like, and with maybe some tips along the way, but generally it all comes from yourself. So shall we start playing some? What are you going to play, Leo?
Yes, so today I would be playing the first movement of the Hummel Trumpet Concerto, and hopefully if we get some time to do the Fantasie Caprice by Gabriel Paris.
Great. Yeah, you want to start with the Hummel?
Yes, yeah.
This is first movement?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Bravo! Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
If I could find the button on my iPad for the applause, it would. Yeah, you know the one. I'm technophobe, so surprised I'm here at all. But that's fantastic. You sound great, really great. I know it's somewhere in probably your house somewhere, and the acoustics are probably quite dry, I imagine, and it's hard to get that performance hat on that you're playing to 6,000 people in a big concert hall. Or well, whatever the National Concert Hall is, I can't remember. It's over 1,000, under 2,000, I believe. Is that right? So imagine you're standing on the stage of the National Concert Hall, or any concert hall, in fact. So if you have your performance hat on, you really have to start visualizing this during these times, because most of the time the best we have is a decent practice room, or a bedroom, or your living room, or wherever it is that you have to practice.
Yeah.
So yeah, those of us fortunate enough to be playing in concerts at the moment, most of them are live, either on the radio or online. And being in a hall, being in a big hall makes a big difference to your sense of your mindset, I guess, towards performing. So that's a little bit of an aside thing, I guess, but it's very important nonetheless to be thinking and visualizing yourself in a bigger space, first of all, and for your sound to grow exponentially from you, what you're giving, not to just be playing into a kind of a small box and then thinking, oh, all I need to do is play small. So the idea of playing big doesn't mean that you play loud, but you have the ability to project with resonance and so on, and using the air to the best of your ability. You know all this stuff already, I'm sure. You've been through this, and you're already a fantastic player, a fantastic performer. I've seen you a few times now, so it's all good. Very characterful playing as well. In a way, you're almost giving too many things. It's like this kind of smorgasbord of stuff that you're giving us, which is great. It's nice to be fed all these things. In one could argue the other side of the extreme is that maybe you're giving us too much, and you have too many flavors perhaps, and I mean by that in the articulation perhaps, that you're doing lots of different things. Almost every phrase has its own kind of quirk or own character, and that's fine, as I say, and it sounds great. Think about less is more for the moment. If you were to narrow it down to a few things about character, looking at the music you have in front of you, I mean, it's for me, there are a few idiomatic kind of characterful things going on in the music. What might they be for you? Because we all have different approaches to this.
As in, what can I take away from it?
Yeah, if you're looking at the material you get and the type of material, the idiomatic kind of stuff. So, for example, the opening arpeggio could be called a
Fanfare.
yeah, totally fanfare, and that theme comes back quite a lot. Could you just go ahead and play? Just look through the music for a moment and find all the fanfares. Just pick them out. It's like it could be a 4-note thing, or it could be 7 notes perhaps if you include the dotted bit afterwards. But can you just play a few of those from the beginning, Leo? That would be great, just to isolate those fanfares. Yeah, there are a few more in there. Yeah, you can use the minor ones as well. Sad fanfares are good as well. But keep going. Go into the development, maybe the one in concert C flat. Da 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 da. This one. Yeah, one more time, just in the same. So I'm trying to get you to do the same sort of character each time, basically. So you're not giving us too many different kind of spoon feeding, lots of different flavors. That it's got one particular character going on. Whatever it's a rhythmic thing, I guess, isn't it? But it's also more of a stylistic. Are you directing us to the bar line, da 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 da, or are you going da 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 da? Just to make it kind of uniform, I would say.
Yeah.
Can you go ahead and just do that one again, same one? Yeah, play the first one again, the very first one. Good. And now play just the previous one in A flat again. Yeah, so we're just trying to make the same thing. So if nothing else, we're not confusing our own brains, thinking, okay, what am I going to do now to make it something? You don't really need to do that much, I think. So there are a few characters like this. So that's one, the fanfare one. What else would you say is in the music here? What other sort of ideas are going on?
There's quite a lot of sort of different lines and phrases that go into one another.
Yeah, describe those to me. What are they like in terms of the distance between the lines? So the intervals we'd call them. Are they moving melodically? Are they jumping about? What's the most kind of thing that's happening?
Well, there's a bit of both really.
So what would you? I'm asking lots of questions rather than giving you answers. I want you to think for yourself really about how you see those lines. What could they be from? If you imagine Hummel in 18 whatever it was at the end of the 1700s into 1800s, what sort of music would he be listening to? Would it be all instrumental? Would it be perhaps singers? What I mean, I'm without spoon feeding it too much, and I'm kind of indicating that these are melodic lines to be sung.
Yeah.
They're fairly simple, they're scale things. And of course, this was an amazing thing for the keyed trumpet, the new invention at the time. It's old hat to us now. We've heard all about the keyed trumpet and everything, but at the time it was really revolutionary to be able to play these scale things in the lower register. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to sing this little bit, the bit that I sang, and I want you to put the most voice into it, if you know what I mean, the most sort of from your head, really singing as if you're on the stage of the Royal Albert Hall or Carnegie Hall or National Concert Hall Dublin. So you get your best voice going. Can you try that?
Yeah. Which
So after the opening fanfare bit, we have ba da da dum. This bit.
da 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 dong da dong. Will I keep going?
Oh, absolutely. It sounds great. Yes.
Da 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 da.
Good. Okay. To me, that's very different from what you played earlier, which is fine. It's absolutely fine. You're now singing sort of everything longer than you did before. It was quite a little bit kind of using the tongue in not so much a starting way, but in a finishing way. You're almost clipping the ends of notes a lot. And again, it's not. I don't want to sort of get in the way of your technique and your musical approach to things, your characterful playing. But if you have an idea about singing, then I think you should transfer that into the trumpet, and that's I won't say it's easy to do, but it's basically transferring the same neural pathways in your brain, putting it through the air passage in the trumpet.
Yeah.
Can you go ahead and play what you just sang? Yeah, very good. So, I mean, the thing I would think about is playing long notes, that everything is long and connected. This Chikovits thing, you're sick of playing Chikovits probably, but almost thinking that everything is connected. Everything is one long note, really, and you're pushing vowels over that one note. Yeah. So think longer. So you're using less energy then. You're just playing one note in effect and pushing vowels over that one note. Yeah. Because a singer wouldn't necessarily go da 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 unless it was maybe asked for accents in the music. But they would just sing a line without much diction, perhaps, if they were going. It depends if there are syllables, of course, and words. But I think just keep it very simple with melodic lines like this. Fanfares are different. I guess you're given permission to articulate da 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 da. But here, I think maybe think more like a D rather than a T. Da 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 da. Yeah. Will you try one more? This one, Leo. Good. Yeah. And one thing you can add to this is the idea that a long note doesn't just stay stationary. Like you just push the button and it goes da, and you think, okay, I've done my job. Your job still continues throughout that note. So there's always interest within the note. There's a kind of a spinning going on. There's an interest going on in the middle of the note. I'm not sure. It's very hard to demonstrate stuff through the online, as you well know. But if you can exaggerate these things in your brain, I think you're on the right track. So it's never like pushing. You tend to push the note and then let go. So I think there's always, in long notes, you can make more interest grow and more life within the sound. Yeah. And this goes back to the idea of playing in a bigger hall again, thinking towards the back of the hall, keep moving the air through the note to the back. Yeah. Can you try this last one more time, this last time, the same passage? Yeah, good. Yeah. And I think so. This is the second idea. So we had the fanfare, we've had the melodic interest. Anything else? Thinking character and any other characters in there? I would say there's at least one more.
Well, then you have those kind of interval jumps.
Yeah. Sure. Just play a couple of those. Good, yeah. And then after that, you have another fanfare, da, 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 series of them, yeah. So that's good. In a way, you could argue that is it's also a melodic pattern with this. Maybe it became the theme and variations that you had in the Arbon later on. So, but you're adding this extra note. So in a way, you could argue. I'm not arguing. I'm just kind of sort of pointing out that it's a possibility that this is also a melodic thing. So you can be thinking longer here if you want. Instead of da, 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 da. See, every time you chop the end of a note, it's not that it's wrong. It's just that you're working harder than you need to in a way. Da, 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 da. The lips are vibrating and then stopping, vibrating, vibrating, stopping, vibrating, stopping. So in a way, we owe it to our lips just to keep the vibration going. It's like if you're driving a car and the accelerator is you're pushing it and then letting go a lot, then it's a very bumpy sort of ride, and it's not very efficient for the car, and it makes us sick as passengers as well. So I think just think long generally throughout these things. One more character. Proper musicians would call it thematic material, perhaps. What other thematic material do you have there? This one? That happens a few times. That one.
Yeah.
What would you say is the character here? What would you like it to be?
It's another idea of the piece.
If you had a story to give it, what sort of story what title would you give it?
Probably like I kind of see it as if you're traveling from one place to another.
Yeah, there's no wrong answer. First of all, it can be anything that, as long as it's your story. Again, so you're communicating instead of speech. You're communicating with sound, and you're communicating with your trumpet. But mostly, you're communicating from your brain, using the trumpet as the voice, if you like.
Yeah.
So there's no wrong answer here. I think it's important to have something in mind, though, a character or a person or an animal, perhaps, or a storyline. I'm walking through the forest and suddenly I saw this. Wow! So you need to grab our imagination, I guess. I think we talked about this last year, actually, about characters and storylines. And there's no wrong story, but it has to be something.
Yeah.
Can I give you an example? Maybe I call this theme "clowning around." I don't know why. It's just kind of like a very sort of happy clown, just dancing along. I don't know, in a circus. Yeah, it's not necessarily a clown, but it can be. Give me some words that might help here. Just to open up your imagination.
Maybe some sort of stream that's making some pebbles and rocks tumble.
Yeah. So what happens to the rocks because of the stream? Perhaps that's more exciting than just thinking of pebbles and streams. What happens to them because of that?
And they move and keep going.
Yeah. Where do they end up?
Probably wedged alongside another bigger rock that they can't.
Yeah. And what does the big rock say to the little rock? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like you have to excite us a bit with music making generally, because we're trying to communicate something from our brains through these instruments, and then grab people's imagination. They just go, wow, I'm really moved by that, but they may not know why they're moved by it. But it's important for us to move people, and if we don't have a real kind of exciting story going on somewhere, then it's not going to come out. It's going to come out a little bit dry through the trumpet. So we need to kind of think really big with this kind of storyline stuff. Generally, as I said, there's no wrong story. Think about this, Leo. I think as a musician, you'll owe it to yourself to get into this kind of character building, because as I said at the beginning, it sounds fantastic. You're sounding great. You sound really strong. To play, you're playing to everybody in the world potentially right now. The World Wide Web. It's not that easy to do, and I think if you want to tell stories with music, just use your imagination. Make something. Even just go and read Harry Potter if you haven't done it. Read it again. Just get some ideas going where you can go, okay, this is the bit where this exciting thing happens. Yeah. It's all yours. It's all belonging to you, as I said earlier. Okay. Let's go on to more playing. So some characters, basically, there are 3 or 4 characters that you could, rather than trying to do lots of things and not really sure why you're doing them, you're just putting articulations in for fun, or shortening notes here and there, or it's kind of random. And again, not that it's wrong, but it's I think you can, less is more when you're making music. Yeah. I wouldn't mind hearing a little bit from the beginning again, thinking about the fanfare character, the melodic singing line, and when we get to the clowning around bit, as I call it, really highlight those, put those different hats on, if you like. You have your performance hat on, you're standing on the stage of the National Concert Hall, and you're thinking big, you're playing right through every note. Think long with every note. Yeah, go for it. Okay, Leo, good. That's great. Just want you to do one more thing. Just on one note, pick a middle G. You're on E flat trumpet, so pick a middle G and do the rhythm that you have, but play everything long. Just the opening fanfare on one note. Good. Now let's go to the first beat. Da 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 da. Yeah, everything long and moving to the first beat. Very good. Now play the right notes with exactly the same approach. I love it. I think before you were kind of clipping the high note, da 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 dee, to prepare or something. Just go into it. Take a risk. There's an awful lot of risk, as you well know. There's an awful lot of risk playing the trumpet, but there's risk in everything we do. I could step outside my door and I might have left the gas on upstairs. I better go and check, actually. You just don't know what's going to happen, so you have to take the risk. Just jump in. The swimming pool is full. Jump in. Just go for it, if you can swim, that is. Let's keep going, and I want to hear a bit more just into the melodic section and the characterful clowning around bit as well. From the top one more time. Thanks, Leo. Sing through, yeah, keep going. Very good. You hear at the end, that you're chopping the notes again short, and then you're making life difficult for the next bit because you've cut the circulation off. I mean, the circulation of air to the lips. The lips need to know that there's air coming at them and going from them. Yeah, so go to the high note here. Don't just stop on the C, because you're stopping and then having to start again, and that's more risky. You're causing more difficulty for yourself. So think long. Can we do the one note exercise again? The same rhythm, but just on one note. Are you saying D or T?
D.
Okay, more of that, more length in the note, yeah? Full sound, yeah, really big. Very good. Now play the music the way it is, the same way. Good, it's better, it's better. You're still kind of stopping on the C, the third note. Bam, beep, bam, beep. Go to the high one. Don't stop and then think it's, because it is a syncopation and that's interesting. Bam, bam, that's very interesting. But we don't want to cause too much inefficiency here, because you've got this triplet stuff coming up, which you want to be on top of before it happens. Let's start one more time, that same place. Very good. Woo! Yeah, super, super. You then have a basis to muck around, we'll say, with articulation if you want to. As I said, none of that's wrong. But if you're giving yourself a good platform or a good basis for healthy playing, then you have much more ability to do dynamics if you want to. Suddenly you can play louder, you suddenly bring it right down again at any point. So you never feel like you should never feel like you're on the back foot, that you're always thinking ahead. What am I going to do with the next phrase? Just mostly sustain and connect as a singer would do.
Yeah.
Okay, super. Let's hear a little bit further on. The clowning around bit, as we called it, comes in later. Let's hear one bit of that. Good. So thinking about sound quality again, just to touch on that, are you using a different type of sound than you did for the fanfare or you did for the melodic line? Are you trying to create a different sound in from your trumpet?
Not necessarily a different sound, but a different character.
Yeah. Okay.
And that might result in changing the sound somewhat, yeah.
I feel like it might be. It's difficult across the internet, but don't go too far from your basic sound. Sound is all you have to work with, basically. Sound is, it's like you recognize my voice, especially after a couple of hours of talking, you're going to recognize my voice. Yeah. And, that's what we have when we play the trumpet. We have a particular type of sound. It's yours. It's your own sound. Yeah. My sound is my own. We try and copy other people's sounds. Great. We can copy your favorite trumpet players, Håkan Hardenberg, Wynton Marsalis, or Reinhold Friedrich, or whoever, but we'll never be their sound. We'll never have their sound. It's unique to them. So I think really develop what you have. So your best sound should always be, within the top between 90 and 100%. Even on your first note of the day, there's no reason why you can't play a good, healthy middle G at least as good as you did it yesterday. And oh, my lips aren't warmed up. Oh, I haven't got my breathing ready. I haven't got my body. I haven't had my coffee. Your sound is in there, and there's no reason. If you can talk in the morning with the same voice as you had yesterday, there's no reason why you can't play the same. Because instead of these vocal cords, you're using these. You're using the airstream in much the same way. So. Okay, let's go back on that one. I just want you to think about that and play this little motif, thematic material, whatever you want to call it, clowning around theme one more time, using your best sound. Good, good. Can I ask you how long the last note is in the music?
It's the last note that I played there.
Yeah,
it's a minimum.
It's a minimum. Play long. It's not like two separate ideas. It's not two separate things. It's one thing. So think about connecting. It's a consequence, if you like, the second bit with the crotchet rest. The second bit is a consequence of the first bit. They're not two very separate things. I think you're making them a little bit chopped. And then, another idea. Can we try one more?
Yeah.
Connect. Music is all about making connections. Good, Leo. You did it again. Bam ba da da dum. Bam bam. Play longer. It's a minimum at least, yeah. Bam ba da da dum. Bam bam. Connect, yeah. So play the G longer. Maybe I didn't explain it well. Let's do one more. Bravo. Okay, now the ideas that I bring up, the ideas or tips or whatever, you may not like any of these, and that's okay. I won't be offended if you say that was a pile of rubbish, but at least think about them and say, okay, well, how can I work with this? Try them out, experiment with them, and you may come back to your practice tomorrow, and you might think, okay, well, that was interesting yesterday, or maybe it wasn't interesting yesterday, but try and remember what we did and see if you can work with some of those ideas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, well done. I think we're up. We're out of time. It's a pleasure to listen to, and nice to see you again, Leo. Thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Leo. Well done. Lovely playing. And Mark, thank you for your comments and insight. So just to remind folks that if you have any questions for Mark that you would like to pose at the end of this masterclass, there will be a Q&A session. Please do so via our Facebook or YouTube channels, and we will relay them to Mark at the end. So our second participant is Seán Molloy. Seán is currently studying trumpet performance with Eamon Nolan in TU Conservatory of Music and Drama, Dublin. He began playing trumpet in his local marching band at the age of 8 under the tuition of his own father. During his teen years, Seán developed a love for the trumpet and decided to pursue this passion after his years in secondary school by attending the conservatory, aiming one day to be a professional trumpet player. Seán, you're very, very welcome, and we hope you enjoy this session with Mark. Mark, I will leave you with Seán, and just to remind folks that after this participant, we'll have a very short break, about 3 minutes, so please don't go anywhere. And after that, we will be back with our third and final participant to be followed by our Q&A. Thank you, Mark, and I'll leave you with Seán.
Thanks very much, Nigel. Nice to see you, Seán. And
nice to see you.
Looking forward to hearing you. So was what you just heard with myself and Leo, is there anything that you can take from that session and put it into your it's a difficult question to answer. You don't have to answer it now, but the stuff that you've been listening to, is there anything that you might apply to your own playing rather than going back in things and thinking, okay, we'll start again? Just have a little, just plant that thought in. You don't have to answer it. What are you going to play today?
I'm playing the Hansen Sonata. I have the first and second movement here, but
Right.
I'm happy to do the first if we don't get past that one.
Okay, I have it in front of me on the computer, and I'll just bring that up now. And so it's the first and second movement.
Yeah.
Lovely. So this was a cornet and piano originally. Thorvald Hansen, Willem Hansen, was a trumpet player with the Royal Danish Orchestra in Copenhagen. He was born in 1847 and died in 1915. So who might have he come in contact with in that era? Other composers. He was a trumpet player, but he also played violin and viola, and he filled in as an organist as well on regular occasions. So he was a multi-instrumentalist and also, a conductor, I believe, and as well as a composer. He didn't compose that many things, but he loved the cornet, and he had a patron who actually gave him a cornet to play in the orchestra, the Royal Danish Orchestra. So you're going to play it on trumpet, I think. Is that right?
Trumpet.
Yeah.
B-flat trumpet, yeah.
Who might have he been in contact with, perhaps, or who else would have been pretty cool in composing world at that time, so between 1847 and 1915?
Trumpet wise?
No, composer wise, just generally the mainstream composers that we know of now, who might have been around, not necessarily in Denmark, but there was a lot of cross fertilization, thinking Germany, Austria, perhaps that way.
Hummel and
Who?
no, that's not that one. Sorry, I said Hummel, but
No, he was gone by then.
gone, yeah.
Yeah. So 1847 to about 1915. So you could be thinking along the lines of Bruckner, perhaps.
Oh yeah.
Mahler, perhaps Gustav Mahler.
Yeah.
Thinking about Sibelius, perhaps. Was he around then? Maybe not.
I was more so thinking about famous trumpet composers. That's my bad.
Oh, mainstream stuff. The Beethovens and Mozarts, who weren't around then, of course. But okay, this piece was written apparently, and there's a bit of question over when it was written. They thought first it was written in 1915, the year of his death, but it actually, I think it goes back to 1903.
Okay.
Wikipedia is amazing. You should try it. I wasn't around then. I'm not that old, but it's a great resource to have. Just look things up and say, oh wow, he wrote other pieces as well. And I wonder what those are like. Just be very curious. Be very curious about what was going on at that time. What was Denmark like? Have you been to Copenhagen?
No, I haven't actually.
Fine. You don't have to go just to study Hansen, but be curious about your music making. For a very long time, I was very guilty of just playing the music in front of me. Right, what are we playing today? Okay, we'll practice this piece. And I don't care about, what the composer was, who he was meeting or who he was hanging out with. But now I'm thinking, actually, it has a consequence on the way we play things. Anyway, let's start.
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. I found the applause. Well done. Super. Well, great playing.
Thank you.
Great. Fantastic. Give yourself a mark out of 10 for a moment. What was the what mark would you give yourself for today's version of your Hansen playing to the world? What mark would you give? So be kind to yourself.
We'll go with a 6.
6. Okay.
Yeah.
Out of 10. Well, what about the other 4? What do you think is missing? Why not 10?
There was just a few silly mistakes that I shouldn't have made. Maybe it's just because of an audience, but stuff like breath control, some articulation habits crept back in.
When you
Just
say
small mistakes.
yeah, so when you say you shouldn't have made mistakes, I would say, well, you should, and I think you
Good
should,
make mistakes.
of course, allow yourself to make mistakes, basically. Um, it's easy to get fixated on mistakes, isn't it? And you know, that's okay. But I think what we should be doing is actually thinking, oh, that mistake happened, and let's look at that and let's figure out why that happened, so that you wouldn't come back next year and say, oh, I made some silly mistakes and I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
So it's okay to make them, you know, it's fine. Just try and sort of micromanage in a way what it was that happened, maybe just before that thing happened, that mistake, we'll call it, and what you were doing during it, what was the mistake, and then what you were thinking about afterwards. Were you fixated in the past, or were you thinking, okay, I need to keep moving into the next bit? So it's a very fast process. I guess the brain is capable of doing so many tasks very quickly. So it's good if we prepare or practice. So this is a little bit of a lecture on preparation, perhaps. But what sort of practice do you do? Yeah, not necessarily for this piece, but what do you do when you pick the trumpet up first thing in the morning? What sort of things do you do?
Well, I'd start off. I wouldn't actually blow a note for maybe 5 or 6 minutes, just breathing and getting the lungs to their full capacity, and then long tones, and then maybe some Clark, and then once I'm comfortable, maybe some Arbin, and then I'll move on to my rep.
Okay, so this is a tricky one to answer. Why are you doing all those things?
Well, I feel like if I just picked it up, that wouldn't come out, but doing the Clark lets me relax and fixate on my notes. Long tones get my air going, and then I don't really have an answer for Arbin, but
Yeah, who does? Yeah,
yeah.
too big. It's too big a subject. Okay, really, I'm asking you the question just so you can ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I doing 5 minutes of breathing exercises? You're already breathing. You've been breathing all night when you're asleep. Thankfully, the reptilian part of our brains allow us to do that, and so we wake up still breathing. And so, what is it that you want to achieve by doing 5 minutes or whatever of breathing before you play the trumpet? Why not just pick it up and start playing? Because it's a great instrument to play.
Yeah, I feel like personally, I've only started doing it in the last year or so, but if I just pick it up and start playing, I get already short breathed, and I'm not taking deep breaths.
Is that a physical condition you have, or is it something
No,
that...
it's just a bad habit that I let myself into.
Okay. Okay. So none of these things are wrong. I'm not going to say don't do that or you should be doing this. There's none of that. It's all good what you're doing as long as you know why you're doing them. That's really the main message. Clark is good. You know, there's loads of Clark stuff that you can do. I bet you only do Clark 2, right?
Yeah, guilty.
How many Clarks are there in the book? Do some others. Mix it up a bit. You know, that would be my advice. A lot of people
1
just
and
do.
2.
You do 1 and 2. Okay. Good, good. Why do you do number one?
I feel like that's more like relaxation here. Let's
Hmm.
get away tension and it's a free flow
Yeah.
of
So
air.
why bother doing number two if you do number one in that? If you know.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for
Yeah.
that one. Same
Yeah.
reason, really, is it?
Yeah. I mean, I would just yeah. If there's a method that I would use, it would be like every day do number one, and then you can get that relaxation, get your fingers moving. You can do different articulations and so on as well.
Yeah.
Do the slur. You can also mix it up with different articulations. So you're already using the tongue muscle. And then the first week you might do one and two. The second week you might do one and three. Next week you would do one and four, one and five, one and six, one and seven, one and eight. So you're not just going back, oh, here we go again, one and two. Okay. Yeah. It's only for your own benefit, really, and you're exercising different parts of your playing and you're exercising different parts of your mind, not to get too stuck in a rut. As I say, there's nothing wrong with these doing it the way you're doing it. I think just for your own benefit.
Yeah.
And Arbin, what sort of Arbins do you do? You start from
Um,
sharp, or do
no,
you
I
go?
don't start at the start and go like long. If I'm focusing on one thing for the day, I'll find that passage in Arbin and just work on it.
And with
I don't.
long tone, sorry, do you want to finish? Sorry.
No, sorry. Cut
I was
off you
just
there.
with long tones. What do you do with the long tones? You just play the note and go on to the next one.
Long tones. I was starting doing Shekowitz and stuff like that, but not necessarily just playing a note for 16, 20 beats and then repeating it. It's usually Stamper, Czechowitz or stuff like that.
Okay. So it's more melodic passages that you're doing.
Yeah, that's it.
One
Yeah.
long phrase. Okay. These are all great things. Yeah, nothing wrong with these things. Yeah. So basically, I think what I recommend you do. Just give me a second. What I recommend you do. There's a checklist, if you like, of bits of things that you could be looking at. You're doing breathing stuff. Do you do any mouthpiece alone? You do long tones. There's some stamp stuff. You could replace that with Chikovitz or Arbin or Clark if you want. Scales. You do chromatic scales every day. You do slurs, slow slurs, fast slurs. You do Clark 1, 2, 3, 4, like I was saying. Maybe you could do 1 week 1 and 2, and then the next week you do 1 and 3, and so on. Do you work on articulation? Do you work on like single tonguing and K tonguing? Ka 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 ka. Do you do any of that? Do you do double tonguing, triple tonguing? Do you play lyrically? You do some Chikovitz, so that's some lyrical playing. Soft playing? Do you practice soft playing? Do you practice loud playing? Do you practice intervals? The list goes on. Do you practice upper register, transposition?
A tough one.
Yeah, endurance, and then studies. Do you practice? How many studies are you working on at the moment? And do you do any listening? Do you listen to music?
Yeah, I'm constantly listening to music. It's one thing I'm good at.
So repertoire could be the piece you just played, solos. Maybe do you do any orchestral stuff? You want to be a trumpet player? Do you want to do orchestral trumpet playing?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to focus my mind on playing orchestral at the minute when there's no orchestras. I'm
Totally,
not
but
orchestras, but definitely would be an interest. Yeah.
sure. Do you have other trumpets other than B flat?
Yeah, I have a C trumpet
You play it
and a.
regularly?
Well, I only got it last week, so
Oh,
played it
okay.
regularly in the last week.
And what other trumpets do you have? Were you going to say more?
I have a flugel as well.
Do you
I
play
don't.
that right?
No, not regularly. No.
Why not?
Um, I don't know really. It's usually just B flat all the time.
It's not really getting your face about anything. I'm just kind of making you think, oh,
Yeah.
okay, there's a lot of stuff to be balancing. There's a lot of, this image of the guy spinning all the plates at once. And in a way, it's an impossible task. It's like they say in Scotland about trying to paint the Forth Road Bridge. You start at one end, and by the time you get to the end, you have to start all over again at the beginning because there's just not enough time. There's not enough hours in the day. So just think about what things that you could be including in your practice that perhaps you might be neglecting.
Yeah. It's kind of
Great.
an eye opener.
Yeah, great to do stuff that you're good at, and that's fun, and it's really lovely. But I think you can push the envelope a bit more. You can push yourself a bit more. Not crazy amounts, you don't need to kill yourself. It's just okay. Maybe I didn't do enough double tonguing today. Maybe I should just try that again. Maybe I should do some lip slurs, flexibility stuff. Maybe I should do them very very slow. Slow practice. Slow practice is really boring, but the
Yeah.
benefits. If it's one thing you can come away from today, slow practice. That's my for everything. Slow practice. Any of my students listening will be bored of hearing that from me. But okay, can we start one more time at the beginning?
Yeah.
I've done an awful lot of talking. I want to hear you play more. What I'd like you to start with, Seán. What are we in F major, E flat concert?
Yeah, E flat concert.
Okay. Okay, so straightforward, scale upwards, nice and slurred. And then when you get to the top F, that's your first note of the piece. Nice and slow. But I want you to copy every sound that you make. So the first note teaches the second teaches the third, fourth, and so on. So you're keeping your same sound throughout. Great. Now take away the scale and play exactly what you played. You have an aural image of what you just did?
Yeah.
Let's play the music now.
Just right from the start.
Yep. One more time. So remember you played the scale and you were very easy and you played this beautiful top F.
Yeah.
Now it's not so beautiful anymore because you have to start on that note. So the first note teaches the second, third, and so on. Let's do it one more time. Okay, so we want to be relying, you need to trust yourself a bit more here, that you're going to come in on this lovely F. It's no different from the low F.
With the scale or without the scale?
Once with the scale, just so you're teaching how to sound, teaching yourself how to sound, and then without the scale. Good.
You felt better.
Yeah, much better. Bravo. What was going through your mind just before you played the music for real?
Just be confident on the first note.
Yeah, trust
The rest
yourself.
follow.
Trust what you know, because you know how to play an F. And it should be, this, as I said to Leo earlier, about using our best sound. When you wake up in the morning, you can just start playing. Because you know how. It was no different from yesterday. You played very well yesterday. You played very well the day before. You've been doing loads of trumpet. So every time you wake up, I'm not saying don't do your breathing exercises for 5 minutes, but ask yourself, is it really necessary? And if you say yes, it is, that's okay. That's fine. I think there's no reason why you can't just start playing and start making your best sound, because you know how. That's what I mean by trusting what you know. Because otherwise you're kind of starting from scratch every day. And okay, it's good to do basics. That's fine. But you can do so much more than you think. You're capable of doing more than you think. Can we start one more time? Remembering what, can you sing the F for me before you play it?
Sing it.
Yep, before you play it.
Da,
Okay,
da.
let's start one more time. Good. Sing the next note.
Da, da, can't get
Yes,
that
that's okay. That's fine. Yeah, super. Okay, let's start one more time, and I'm not going to stop you for the next minute or so. Just keep on playing, but I want you to think about the next note after you stop. So when you stop to take a breath or some bars rest or whatever, I want you to really think about the next note and how you're going to, what it sounds like in your head, and how you're going to produce it.
Okay. Yeah. Like that.
Sing it once.
Da.
Yeah, good. Well done, Seán. Thank you. Well done. Give yourself a mark out of 10. Just see how it's going.
I could get picky, but I'm happy with maybe a 7 that time.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this we're missing 3. Okay, what's missing?
Again, it was just small mistakes. I was happy with. You were telling me to think ahead. I was happy with what I was doing with that. But then
Yeah,
maybe
very
I'm
good.
suffering because of that. But
Yeah, anything that you change takes a little bit of time to work into the system.
yeah,
So uh, let's keep going with that idea, because I don't want to just to stop and go, okay, well, you can work on that tomorrow. But I'm going to push you a little bit further. I want you to do a lot of breath patterns. So you talk about, getting going, breathing exercises. So I want you to go straight into the music here. And if the beginning goes like this, you understand that? You know what I'm
yeah,
doing? That's the rhythm. And I'm moving a lot of air away from me. I'm just taking a breath and moving air. I'm not holding anything. I'm just getting rid of it in a very positive way, and a very sort of what's written on the music. Yeah. So when you take a breath, I hear a lot of
yeah,
so if you have some of the longer phrases where there's only a very quick amount of time to take a breath, I hear this, and that's a lot of tension in your mouth. Your tongue is very high, and you could actually think about an O shape, like you have an egg in your mouth, an ostrich egg perhaps, or a duck egg, or whatever, an egg or a ball. So there has to be room for the air to come into your lungs. If you're already inhibiting it, yeah, can you make that sound once? Yeah, now make it with an O in your mouth, with an egg. Yeah, there's more air going into your lungs, right?
yeah.
Okay, so then you have the ability to be able to blow outwards. So it's going to be a bit like this. Just bear with me for a moment. You see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Every time you need a breath, it's a egg in your mouth breath. And oh, okay, let's try. That's the right approach. Well done. Thank you. How long is a dotted quaver? That's a
Dotted
great.
quaver.
Yeah, how long is it? Is there a
Trumpet.
rest? Dee-ya, da-da. Or is it dee-ya, da-da? Is there a rest after the dotted quaver?
No.
You'll remember like you're cutting corners, cutting thing. Maybe it's trying to be. Maybe you're trying to be. Let's call it musical or whatever. You're trying to do something creative or musical or characterful or something. But I think it can inhibit your ability to make the next note speak well and to sound well. You know,
Is it the same in all the dotted passages, or just those phrases?
I'm looking at the music and you're looking at the music, and I would just say, well, the dotted quaver joins directly to the semiquaver. There's no gap between them. Da ya da da. It's dee ya da da. It's a long one, right?
Yep.
How long is it? It's relative to the previous beat, I presume, the previous bar. So can you do the breath pattern one more time? I'll just do it one more time. The next phrase. Yeah. There's always air moving. It's always coming out. The only time I'm articulating with the tongue is the beginning of the note. It's like your drum beat. Your tongue is your drum beat. Yeah. But it's not, you don't need to stop the note ever. There's a continuation of sound. Continue the sound, connect the sound. Can you do it one more time with the breath, Seán?
Yep. I did it again there.
It's already.
Yeah.
Well done. Yep. Magic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you know when you're doing that, you suddenly sat up really tall? Okay?
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
I want you to either sit up tall or stand up tall if it's easier. You can stay as you are now, but when you're doing the breath pattern, that's fantastic. You're sitting up very tall. Now add the trumpet to that tall. Is there such a word as tallness? I don't know. Yeah, but don't come forward. One of the worst things about this lockdown is that we're in these little screens and we go closer in and we're closer in and our bodies are sort of bending over and you get backache and that's partly why I'm standing up all the time to teach and to play as well, just to to remember what it's like to just be in a bigger space and try and visualize that. If we're in this small little box of a screen, then it can be very difficult to get out of that. So get yourself in that best playing position and add the trumpet to that. Can you see the music okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still, I'm going to push you a little bit. Remember how tall you were when you took the breathing pattern? Yeah, good. You allow your chest to come out then. You allow the air to come in. That's it. Let's play from the start. Can you sing the first note?
Da,
Super.
da.
That's it. deserves one of these.
It's a lot more comfortable.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely. So give yourself a mark out of 10.
I'd give that one a 8.
Good. Okay, fine. You're getting towards your end goal of being happy with number 10. But if you're happy with that, that's a step in the right direction. Are you going to remember this tomorrow? If something's working for you, you owe to yourself to bring this back tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And what did Mark say? Most of it was rubbish, but some of it was, oh yeah, he made me sit tall when I'm doing breathing patterns. He asked me to play long. He asked me to connect. He asked me to bring the trumpet to me instead of coming down into the music again, because I can't see the music because it's on a little screen or on the music stand. So think about being kind to yourself, and get yourself where it's easiest. Where is it easiest to play? Where is it going to sound best? Where is it going to be easiest, and where is it going to sound best? Okay, that's what I would take away from this. Super, you sound great, and I think you give yourself freedom to sound great if you're doing those simple little things. Very good. Let's go on from there. We have the slow movement as well. Do you want to do some of the slow movement? Do we have time for this? I think a bit of the slow movement. Or the middle movement, you want to call it. It's more like a sonatina rather than a sonata. It's so short.
Yeah, 3 movements.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, I look at this and I think, this is why I did Chikovitz. Vincent Chikovitz is trumpet player in the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, and we talk about flow exercises. Flow meaning connection, flow of air, flow of the notes, interest in the music, long notes. It's the same as doing Chikovitz. So that's why I would say you would do Chikovitz. Let's start there. Get yourself in the best playing position and add the trumpet to that. Very good. Okay, I'm sorry to stop you already. Goes back to one of the questions I asked you. Are you doing slow slurs and fast slurs? Are you doing slow ones in your practice?
More so slow, yeah.
Okay.
Not as much as fast, but
Okay, do more slow, because the second full bar, the A to the D. See, a singer would look at this and go, "That's just 2 notes."
yeah.
Right? And most musicians would. But we play sometimes something extra in between the 2 notes, which you don't really want. So there could be a way of thinking. And I want to quote someone, because Michael Sachs gave this quote about slurs. All slurs, no matter if it's up or down, all slurs should be smooth, immediate, and direct.
Smooth, immediate, direct.
Yeah, if you think of SID, that's the way I remember it. SID, S-I-D. Smooth, immediate, and direct. So you've got this, you want it to be smooth, of course, because that's it's smooth, yeah? It's the smooth transition. Immediate, so if you're thinking of subdivision, how many semiquavers in a crotchet?
4.
Yeah. You could go da 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 ya, da 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 ya. So there's an immediacy to that. You're not kind of going da. It's like, oh, well, where is that? Where is that in time? So you can be subdividing da 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 ya. And the direct thing comes in is that you move exactly at that point where you're supposed to, not sort of like, well, I'll take a guess on it, and it will end up being somewhere. But you need to know exactly where it is. You need to know as a musician. Okay. I want to think about that. Smooth, immediate, and direct. Let's go one more time, very briefly. We only have a couple of minutes, I think. And Seán, can you do this? Da 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 da. Again. Very good. Do this. Now play the music from the beginning. Oh, fantastic. The first slur was great, but then
Yeah,
coming down. So I'll ask yourself, let's talk about mistakes, because you brought it up earlier about silly mistakes. What sort of mistake is that then, the one from the D to the C? What could that be?
It's just a concentration thing.
Yeah?
To me, anyway. Like I've done the interval slur, and then I'm just going in step, and it's kind of, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just doing it.
Stop a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be the light bulb, the dimmer switch. I've got one here. I won't do it because it's at the other side of it. But the singing light bulb just dims a little bit. So you kind of also maybe the support, the air support that you suddenly didn't think, okay, there's no need to do that because all you're doing is going from D to C and it's coming down. So that's really easy, isn't it? No, it's not. You still have to engage in airflow and singing, both of those things at once. Moving the valve isn't really enough. There has to be constant air through it. So, talking about concentration, maybe that could be your buzzword for today and tomorrow. Concentrating on what? Concentrating on singing through from one note to the next, connecting them. Because you've done so much Chikovits now, you must like have Chikovits coming out your ears. Yes. Why do you do Chikovits? It's partly for this kind of thing: airflow, flow studies, connecting one note to the next without having to think about it anymore. You won't need to concentrate on this after a week of doing Chikovits really well. It will just become second nature. So much of trumpet playing is so much of making music generally is about just trusting that you've done all the work, you've prepared well. So you're going to get 10 out of 10 regardless of what happens. Even if you make mistakes in the concert, you still give yourself 10 out of 10 because you did the preparation. Yeah. Okay, one last time, and then I think we have to stop then, if that's okay. Well done. Well done. That's a lovely phrase. Yeah, very good. Seán, thanks so much. And sorry, I'm probably talking to you, but if you can bring some of these ideas forward to your practice, I think you'll be...
Absolutely. They apply to everything, really, don't they?
Yeah, well done. Thank you so much.
Thanks a million, Mark.
Thank you, Seán. Well done. Lovely playing. And again, thank you, Mark, for your insights and your help with Seán. So, folks, just to remind you, we're now going to take a very short break. But if you do have any questions that you would like us to relay to Mark, please do so on our Facebook and YouTube channels. We're going to take a very short break now, just about 3 minutes. So please don't go anywhere. And we're just going to get a quick breath of air, stretch the legs, and we'll be back to you very, very shortly. Thank you. Well, welcome back, everybody, and we're delighted to continue with this morning's masterclass with the wonderful trumpeter Mark O'Keefe and three of Ireland's upcoming young trumpet players. We have one more participant this morning, and his name is Seán Heary. Seán, you're very welcome. We're delighted to have you with us. Seán is a fourth-year Bachelor of Music student from Kilkenny, and he's studying in CIT Cork School of Music with Viviani Johnson. He's the principal trumpet of the CSM Symphony Orchestra and has performed with the Irish Youth Wind Ensemble, CSM Jazz Big Band, Cross Border Orchestra of Ireland, and Cork Philharmonic Winds. He has received masterclasses from Gabor Tarkovi, Pasi Pirinen, Mark O'Keefe, Alonso Gonzalez Barquin, Alan Thomas, David Collins, and Adam Rappa. Seán, you're very welcome. We're looking forward to hearing you play. Thank you. Just to remind you folks that after this participant, so this will be in approximately 40 minutes. So just coming up on 10 past 12, we will be having a short Q&A session with Mark. So if you have any comments or questions, please put them in our YouTube channel or Facebook channel, and we will relay them at the end of the masterclass. Mark, thank you. And Seán, I will leave you and we will see you shortly.
Thanks very much, Nigel, and Seán, hi. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
A big cheer for Cork School of Music, yes. Brilliant.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm sure you're working hard there and you're enjoying playing music. So what are you going to play, Seán?
I'm going to do the Haydn Trumpet Concerto, so I'll just start off with the first movement, and if we have time, I suppose the second. So.
Okay, that's great, yeah.
Good.
Good job, Sean. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You just played the Haydn Trumpet Concerto to the first movement to potentially the whole world. How do you feel right now?
Sorry.
How do you feel right now?
Fairly wrecked.
Wrecked? Tired?
Yeah.
Mentally or physically or what?
I suppose a bit of both. Yeah, mentally.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Okay. So, playing the trumpet is a very physical thing. It's a sport in a way. Mental and physical. Oh, I'm just getting a cup of tea here. 1 second. Thank you. Cheers. Thanks. Yeah, so cheers. It's a very physical sport and mentally taxing. So why I ask you how you feel is very important, because if you go into any sport feeling tense, muscles are clenching, or you're not sure how it's going to go, and you're worried about things, then chances are you're not going to play to your or to do the sport to the optimum that you know you can. So tension creeps in when you least expect it, of course, and you can be feeling fine one moment, and then suddenly the world is watching. You're not fine, and you don't know why that is, and things start going wrong, and that escalates. So I think if you can get yourself into a really relaxed place in your brain, but also physically. Could you put down the trumpet for a minute?
Yeah.
Put it anywhere it's safe, on the floor or whatever. And I tend to just shake things out a little bit. So if you can just do this.
Yeah.
Just shake your arms, just let them go. Yeah. Shake your arms about, let your shoulders round. Yeah. Just shake any tensions that might be in, just shake them away from yourself, thinking away from you. Yeah, your neck, that's good. Yeah. Even your legs, if you lift up your legs, pull your back to the behind, and the other one, yeah. So how are you feeling now, physically?
Yeah, a bit more loose, a bit more relaxed. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can go in feeling loose now,
Yeah.
relaxed. Yeah, totally. So how is your brain functioning? How are you feeling worried? Are you feeling nervous? Are you feeling anything in your head?
Yeah, a bit nervous. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm nervous as well.
Yeah.
I get this nervous energy going. Even right now, even saying the word nerves makes me a little bit nervous, because it suddenly highlights things in my mind, like, hey, so why am I nervous? What is it that's making me nervous? What's making you nervous?
I suppose that was kind of the first time I've ever played it in front of someone other than my teacher and stuff. So to me,
Yeah,
it's kind of, I suppose, when you're presenting something to other people for the first time, there's always a sense of kind of, oh, what will go right, what will go wrong.
yeah. What will go wrong?
Yeah.
Thinking about what can go right. You're a very, very good trumpet player, a very, very good musician, because there's lots of stuff coming through, despite the little blips that you may not be happy with. But apart from that, there are lots of very strong ideas coming through, and that's fantastic. That's the main thing. The other stuff about tensions and nerves, that's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. And it's I guess, dealing with it and how knowing yourself and knowing how to deal with things that come up. We have a concert tonight, the BBC Scottish. It's going live on Radio 3, BBC Radio 3, but it's also on YouTube if you want to watch it. I think it goes via the BBC SSO, the plug, BBC SSO website, 7:30 tonight. And we start with a fanfare, and then the second half is Schumann's Second Symphony. And those of you who know Schumann's Second Symphony, it starts with this a very exposed brass chorale with the strings, and a bed of strings underneath. And that's what I'm fixating on, even as I talk to you. I'm fixating on the opening two bars of Schumann 2. And I say fixated because, it kind of plays on certain things playing in the mind a bit more. So for you in the Haydn, what is it that you get fixated on that you think might go wrong?
Um,
Is it the top and flat? Is it the scales before that? Is it the first note? Is it the cadenza?
I think for the most part, yeah, definitely that middle passage leading up to the E flat, I think it's probably the bit where I kind of tend to tense up, because I'm like, oh, it's that old kind of mentality, oh, playing high is difficult, you know, and I think it's just kind of a bad habit, I suppose.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
registered in my mind, and
Yeah, playing high, of course, on a trumpet is potentially precarious because the slots are getting closer and closer together in the harmonic series. You have the octave and the fifth and the fourth and the third, minor third, and the second. And it gets closer and closer the higher up again. But also because our lips aren't really used to much of that. Do you practice high register?
I try to, yeah. I usually, like, when I'm warming up, I'd start down very low and try and do the pedal notes, and then kind of work my way up, chromatically, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. What would happen if you did the opposite? If you did the reverse, you start high and work down.
Um, for me, I'd feel like I definitely just tense up a lot more. I'd kind of,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
be losing a lot less breath.
Good. What's the difference between high notes and low notes in terms of science and what we know about the trumpet and how we react and so on? What's the
Yeah.
difference?
I suppose, like, for me, I kind of tend to think of it as a different tongue position and a different sort of flow of air. So it's a lot tighter. I suppose tighter isn't the word, but a lot more concentrated pressure.
Yeah. So
Um,
you mentioned some good words about tongue position and pressure as well. So if you like, there always has to be airflow, otherwise the lips don't respond. Your lips are like this unit of muscles that we need an opening. We need the stability here
yeah,
in the corners, and we need some tautness, some sort of, I won't say fixed, but some sort of stability plus tautness to give the lips some sort of, the embouchure some sort of, something that they can rely on, some structure, if you like.
yeah,
And the third thing, of course, is the opening of the lips for the air to come out. They're the three kind of main things about the embouchure: stability, tautness, and the ability to be open.
yeah,
How open depends possibly on you, depends on the note, perhaps on the mouthpiece,
yeah,
many things, but it has to be open nonetheless in order for the air to come out, because no air, no sound. Right? So if you think about vibrations and air pressure for a moment, when there is low register playing, low and middle register, there's airflow plus a little bit of air pressure.
yeah,
Then the higher we go, the more pressure there is, air pressure. If you like a car tire or a bicycle tire, there's a lot of pressure inside the tire. That's what keeps it going. That's what keeps it up. But if you put a hole in it or you loosen the nozzle, then there's a real outburst of flow of air plus pressure. And as soon as the air is dissolved from the tire, then there's less pressure. There's less air inside. It's moved from an area of great pressure to low pressure, high to low. So we need to play on that a bit more. The lips, the opening and closing of the lips, the tongue position, and it's knowing the balance of things. It's about support, of course. Um, so if you concentrate on the positive stuff like that, as you mentioned, and get the body out of the way. So one analogy is it's a faster air vibration experience. Someone said that's a quote from Jens Lindemann. It's a faster auditory vibrational experience. It doesn't matter, but it's FAVE, F-A-V-E. And then so those are the higher register notes, faster vibration. And then in the low register, it's slower. So save, fave, and save. If you want to look at that. So getting the body out of the way is important for this. So can you take your trumpet up for a moment, Seán? And just get your lips around the mouthpiece and blow air. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. What is coming out? A low or a high note?
Um, to me, that would feel like a low note.
Feels like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's lots of flow and there's not much pressure.
yeah,
The thing is, air doesn't know that. Your air doesn't know whether it's a high note or low note. It doesn't care. Air just comes out, it just wants to come out, and we want the right vibration to happen. Okay, so can you mimic for me what a high note might be like if you just did the same thing? It could sound a bit like that if you like, so your body gets involved and starts squeezing. Is there much difference?
It definitely feels like a faster airflow.
Yeah, okay, fine. Let's go now to a scale. So F. Tell me what happens to the air pressure when you go up. What happens?
I feel like it definitely does get like a little. I don't know how to describe it. Just a bit higher, for want of a better word. Like it kind of.
What about the vibrations at your lips? What does it feel like that your lips are doing?
I suppose it feels like they're becoming a bit more taut.
Yeah, okay. Let's do the mouthpiece once.
Yeah.
Just a glissando up. Does it feel like, I'm putting words in your mouth, but does it feel like that the vibrations are slower in the low one and faster in the high one?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay. And your body isn't in the way, you're not squeezing anything just to get that out. Your lips come together a little bit and your tongue's probably arching a little bit. Yeah, it's just going to do that, but it's important not to get in the way of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Start in the high F and just climb up to the C.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Fine. So how about we start there in the morning? Because you know you can.
Yeah.
Let's start with the mouthpiece on that register. You don't want to neglect the low register at all, but why not move it around occasionally? Just say, I'm going to start in high F today. I'm going to start in high G. It's not that it's a high note or a low note. It's just a different vibration and different air pressure.
Sure.
You know how to do that, and it's a little bit of a taboo subject, I guess. It becomes a taboo subject if you just think, okay, I'm only going to start low G, the middle G on the trumpet, and then work my way up gradually. Oh, now it's getting too much. My lips gone. So it just becomes a normal everyday thing. I only warm up from middle G. So how about starting? There's a great way to do this. If you take the tuning side out of your trumpet for a moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you do that? And think about, there are three main positions I want to think about. That one, which sounds like an F.
Yeah.
I'll get close to it. Can you try that one? You just blow air through and just let this sound out. Good. If you pop up to the next one, you can use your tongue if you want. You can just think about the air pressure changing or the vibration moving faster. That's the second slot, which sounds like a G on your trumpet. Yeah, that's it. That's easy, right?
Yeah.
Can you do that? With fanfare? Yeah. Third position. That sounds like a high D in your trumpet. Do you want to try that one?
Yeah.
It's a faster vibration, that's all. Yeah? What's the name of that note, the whole one that you played?
The higher one.
Yeah.
D.
D.
On this.
High D. That's a high D on the trumpet. What's the highest note you play on the Haydn?
E flat. Yeah.
Semitone higher, right?
Yeah.
So you're in the right ballpark. This is a great exercise just to get your body out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, you're only going as far as there with the air. You can see that.
Yeah.
The tuning side out. Can you try a little bit of this? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Good. You feel tense in your body anywhere?
A little bit here, like I think, yeah, but I think it's
Where?
just
In your chest or your throat?
just kind of between the chests, I suppose, and here. I think it's just because I'm still kind of reaching for the higher note, I suppose. So it's kind of
Okay.
you know, you kind of
So
feel it there.
you have to let your lips do this. If the lips are closing and your tongue position is probably going to change. You
Yeah.
can't micromanage that too much. But to mimic the feeling of air pressure at your lips, can you do one job for me? So you take a breath in, you close it at your mouth, and then you let go like a burst tire, like an explosion.
Yeah.
Like a real burst of air. Can you try that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
Don't be too nice. Just go for it. Explode.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So I'm asking you to do that so you sense all the air pressure at your lips and from your lips.
Okay.
But we're trying to get the body out of the way so we're not feeling any tensions here. Okay? Let's just do that one more time. Air at your lips, from your lips.
Yeah.
Better or worse?
A little better, I think. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling a lot more here anyway.
Okay,
So,
good.
yeah.
It sounds like you're supporting every note very well.
Yeah.
And so if tension does creep in around the top of your chest or your throat, I suspect it's more your throat.
Yeah.
You're trying to create the conditions for, instead of your lips closing that or your tongue position, your throat is compensating, if you like, to try and get the higher register notes.
Yeah.
But actually it's the vibration that you need to be working on to your lips, from your lips, and a bit of the tongue arching as well gets involved, of course, a little bit. Okay, but you're in the right ballpark for the register that we're talking about. Slow practice I mentioned earlier. Let's go and do. Very slow. Thinking about that, you're up in that register between the D and the D, that second and third register we called it earlier.
Yeah.
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 I
Definitely
didn't
feels a lot easier. Like I think it's literally taking it out of here and kind of putting your head a bit more as well. I think.
Totally.
Yeah.
So everything that comes from your head, you're in control. You're in control of the trumpet, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So I think you've just been allowing the trumpet to play you a little bit, and
Yeah.
I think you need to start with this, thinking what you're doing and getting the body out of the way a bit more. You know.
Yeah.
Even some of the breathing exercises we did with Seán Molloy earlier as well. You know, I think that's also a help.
Yeah.
You know, if you do that with Haydn. You know, getting into that, but also doing the three positions from the
Yeah.
without the tuning slide. Just experiencing it. Is there any tension here? What am I feeling? If there is tension, we do some exercises just to loosen that up.
Yeah.
And to try and get back into calm, relaxed physical state. You're going to get nervous anyway. I alluded to that a little while ago. If you're going to get nervous, you're going to get nervous. The best thing you can do is just accept it. Go, okay, here it comes. I'm nervous. Good. Let's channel that into some sort of energy for the music.
Sure.
Breathing helps. Breathing is a good thing to do. But, just an acceptance of nerves rather than trying to fight and push away. No, not now. I'm in the middle of Haydn. Stop it. I could do this yesterday. Leave me alone. It's not going to work. Just accept it and breathe through it and think, how am I going to get the best message across to those people who are listening out there?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, I'm fixated by the first two bars of Schumann 2 tonight. I can't help it. I'm nervous about it.
Yeah.
But, the worst that can happen is that I'll miss it. So,
Like
it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Don't tell my boss that's like that. But yeah, let's try one more time from the beginning. I want you to think more like that, so your body is not involved so much. Your brain is playing music, and the trumpet is just obeying what you're telling it to do. Connect more like we did with the as well. Much more connection between those. You try not to clip the ends of things you're doing. It's a crotchet also. There are feelings and then a crotchet. That's a bit longer than you make. Generally, the end of phrases, you're tending to clip them. A little bit like that, I'm exaggerating a bit more. I also want to talk a little bit about dynamics with you, and you can make these up. You can play the first three notes very soft or very loud.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But can you exaggerate whatever you're doing? It's a little bit, I think, it's so difficult on this medium where we're online and trying to get the dynamics across is very, very tricky. So the best we can do is exaggerate.
Yeah.
On that subject, I know I'm talking a lot now, but I just want to implant some sort of ideas in your head.
Yeah.
When you're looking at dynamics, how many sorts of dynamics are there in music, roughly speaking?
Like the whole two ranges, I suppose, like from piano to double forte, so.
Yeah, maybe pianissimo. Two P's to two F's might be a nice. So how many in between there? Pianissimo, PP? What else?
Pianissimo, piano, mezzo piano, mezzo forte, forte, double forte. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 6.
Yeah.
Not that many.
Yeah.
So play the opening and a number 4 dynamic from it, which is mezzo forte. Can you do that?
Yeah, sure.
Just the 3 notes and then stop.
Yeah.
Good. Play it at a number 1 dynamic form. Right, play it at a number 6 dynamic. Good. Okay. Knowing your own dynamics is very important here because we're not in a concert hall. We can't really explore that, but you need to know your own limits and push them a bit more.
Yeah.
So you think, okay, what would 3 Fs be? What if I was asked to do 3 Ps? What about all the bits in between as well, from 1 to 6, pianissimo to fortissimo? Know where you're at with dynamics. It's all relative anyway.
Yeah.
A conductor said to me, Mark, can you play that mezzo forte? Or no, can you play that mezzo forte passage a bit louder? And I kind of went, well, it's only mezzo forte. And he said, well, what is mezzo forte? It's only relative to lots of things. What the acoustic in the hall is like, what the balance with other instruments is like, who are you playing with? Are you the most important voice? And then there's knowing your own dynamic as well, what you're capable of doing yourself. So start with yourself, start with knowing what 1 is and what 6 is. Start there. Because, it doesn't really matter what dynamic you play the Haydn concerto at. I think you have the possibility to play from number 1 dynamic to number 6, however, if you want to. And mix it up a little bit if you feel you want to do a crescendo here. So the sound never gets forced. We don't want it to be FF being full force.
Yeah.
It's just a color, just a dynamic. Okay. Let's start one more time.
Yeah.
And keep going this time. Very good. Well done. That's great. You know this fanfare that you just played?
Yeah.
Can you play this on one note, the middle C? So imagine you're standing on the National Concert Hall stage,
Okay. Yeah.
of course, but imagine you're there and you want to fill the room with sound, not decibels, just sound, the ability to make resonance happen. You were doing that earlier with the tuning slide out. Now you're a little bit letting the trumpet dictate what's happening in your room right now.
Yeah.
So as tall as you can be, and look out into the middle of the concert hall.
Okay.
In your mind. Great. Good. That for me is your minimum expression towards
Okay.
this little section.
Yeah.
Okay, people call this your business card, your little fanfare. You know,
Yeah.
keep it close to yourself because it's important. You know, just because it's low down and like 3 beats long, it's not less important than the big tunes.
Yeah.
In a way, it's more important.
Okay.
So don't underplay this bit. It happens a lot, you know, in the other concertos as well. We do the perhaps Hummel as well. That it's a very important figure. So don't underplay these things. There's a bit in the bright seraphim as well, where we're down to the low notes just for a very short time.
Yeah.
Don't underplay them. You know, they're think big with this deep resonance and trying to project these little fanfares out.
Yeah.
Good. Can we start from the high A?
Yeah.
You know this bit? Can you sing the high A? Okay, great. Let's start there.
Sorry?
Let's start there.
Yeah, perfect.
Very good, Sean. Okay, very good. And again, there's a little element of trumpet just kind of playing you a little bit. Can you have more interest going? Because we're tones and semitones, you know, and we're pressing valves.
Yeah.
We're a little bit, it's the word disengaged from the singing aspect, the musical input, if you like. Engage a little bit more with the line. You're not just pressing valves. You really have to work through and blow through every note, connection. Then going back to Vincent Chikovitz's flow studies. And so on. Okay, great. Let's start one more time. Anywhere you like, either the high A or the F, wherever you like.
Yeah, I'll go for now.
Very good, very good. Let's do the trill bit next. You have some trills coming up. Let's try that. Slow practice when you do these. Okay, come to it in a minute. Let's try it first. Yeah, let's do some slow.
Yeah.
I want you to play right through the middle of every note. You know, whether you're doing that or you're not, you're just pressing valve or moving. You're still playing right through the middle of every note.
Okay.
not when you think, oh, I've done enough now, let the trill take care of itself. Yeah,
Yeah.
every single note counts.
Okay.
Yeah, slower. I would say slower because
Yeah.
the upper trill, the higher one isn't clear. Every single note. When you're doing slow practice, much more important to get every single note sounding very healthy.
Okay.
You can smell every note in your own almost. You can
Okay.
hear it, but also taste it almost.
Yeah.
Good, Seán. That's the foundation for that little passage.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, you've done it once very well, but I'd like you to do it 10,000 times.
Yeah. Cool.
As well as that every time, if
Sure.
possible. And if it's not, you go and rest for 10 minutes and then come back to it.
Yeah.
We don't have time now to do 10,000 ones, but when you're practicing, please do slow practice.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
owe it to yourself because it's 2 bars of trills, and you think, oh well, it's not that important. I gloss over it, and
Yeah.
it'll be fine in the night. No, it won't. It'll be fine in the night because you're leaving too much to chance. It's your preparation is everything with this kind of stuff. So loads of methodical, slow practice, and then you can put that away because you can work. You can now go, okay, let's play it for real now and see if all that slow practice has been embedded in our system, brain to our body and so on.
Sure.
On the fingers. I mean, if I was to ask you, how many ups and downs do you do in E to D trill? Could you tell me? So knowing that kind of stuff, very sort of analytical kind of thing, is useful, I guess. But then
Yeah.
you can put it away and just make it a bit more natural when it comes to it, because the speed might be different in the concert. You might get excited and play it faster or slower.
Yeah.
So just knowing yourself a little bit more here is to get your body out of the way generally and let your brain do the music making above all. Tons of slow practice and preparation.
Cool.
Do you want to do the middle section again, or should we just leave it at that? I liked your cadenza, by the way. It was a bit radical. Was that your own one?
It was, I suppose, a collaboration between myself and Pamela Steiner. Steiner even. She's teaching me at the moment.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of we kind of just went through it during the week only. So tried to make it a bit funky, a bit out there.
Good. The thing with big jumps and stuff, as I said earlier, the harmonic series gets closer and closer and a bit more precarious. I think doing a lot of stuff on the mouthpiece is very useful.
Sure.
Piano or any tuning instrument, a piano that's in tune or something that's reliably in tune,
Sure.
and just sit and play the notes and buzz them back. So you're beginning to get some sort of muscle memory at least, as well as trusting your aural capability, like a singer would have to do.
Sure. Yeah.
So you're not relying on the trumpet just to produce the note because you press the right valve.
Yeah.
That's what clarinet players do.
Yeah.
Only joking, clarinet players. Okay. I know it's very difficult. Okay, Seán, thanks so much.
Thanks,
And
Mark.
you sound great, and just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, yeah, bravo.
Thanks so much for your help.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Seán, for your playing, and Mark for your comments and insight. As a really poor trumpet player, I appreciate the complexity and the difficulties that you've addressed. So thank you so much for that. If I can invite our participants to turn on their microphones and cameras, please. We will wrap up with Q&A session. And I suppose what I'll do first, we have questions. But first of all, maybe our participants might have questions that have arisen either during the session or that they had previously and would like to ask you, Mark. So perhaps in the order that folks played, Leo, is there anything you would like to address with Mark before we all depart?
There's kind of one question that I was thinking about over the past few days, and kind of in the midst of this whole situation going on in the world. So as you being a full-time orchestral player, how do you think that this pandemic will or has affected those wanting to go into the field of orchestral playing, or those currently in that field in regards to finding work and stuff like that? And I heard of orchestras having to cut their numbers and certain people having to retrain to a different profession. What advice would you give on this, or what are your thoughts on this?
Wow, okay, Leo, great question. I wish I could give you the right answer, but there is no such magic bullet. I think it's extremely difficult times, of course. You're sick of hearing that. But how do we turn a bad situation into a good one? I'm quoting my dad there, actually. Just something came to mind. How do we turn a bad situation into a good one? And I think that's what we need to focus on. Whatever stage you're at in your life or your career or your lack of career or whatever, how are you going to turn it into something that you can use and be happy in your life? And music is the most amazing thing to do, first off. And we're so privileged and lucky to be involved in this music world of making music. What's not to like, you might say. But it's very difficult if you're not earning money from that. And if you have been earning money, you depend on that. And then that's no longer there. How are you supposed to turn that situation into a good one? It's a huge subject, and there are loads of people, as you say, retraining to do things. A couple of friends of mine have retrained as butchers. One of them has been driving a forklift truck around a building site. And I'm talking like these are phenomenal musicians. So the very best, it doesn't matter how good you are, everyone's being challenged. Everyone's challenged. And if you're at the beginner stage thinking, oh, I fancy being a musician, I wonder what that might be like. It's as perfectly valid as the, fully fledged, full-time musician in the business. Everyone's affected. So there's no getting away from that. I just think it has to do with mindset, partly. This is a great book. If you haven't read it, that's a book to get hold of if you can. It's called Mindset by Carl Dweck. And for me, it basically says two things. You're either in fixed mindset or growth mindset. And what would you rather be in? It's as simple as that. If you want me to go into it further, you can think about how fixed are we in our approach to life generally. I'm only going to take the 10 past 10 train. I'm never going to take other trains because I know I'll get a seat on the 10 past 10. Well, there are other trains, and you might meet someone that you never met before and start off a lifelong relationship, friendship. Perhaps you might meet a musician you never met before. That's just one stupid example. Do you want to be in growth mindset? Yeah, I do. I want to grow. I want to get better at what I do. And I think where there's a passion to get better at something and to improve yourself, then people tend to flock to that like a radiator. A friend of mine talks about radiators and drains. You want to be close to drains that drain all the energy from you? Fine. Do you want to be close to a radiator? Yes, I do. Because they're going to get the best from you, and you're going to hopefully grow from that in a very positive way. So Leo, it's a huge question. I'm sorry I'm not giving you the right answer. I wish there was one. But I think it's how we deal with it in our day-to-day mindset towards things generally that will just one day at a time, that we're not thinking like, okay, what's it going to be like if there's no jobs and there's no orchestras and next year, what's going to happen? And we're just feeding on our own worries, and then they just get bigger and bigger. So another quote my dad had was, feed your faith and you'll have no doubts, feed your doubts and you'll have no faith. It's maybe a bit too religious, but it's for general life as well. Feed your faith and you'll have no doubts. So trust yourself, know what you're about, and keep doing what you're doing in a very positive way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. I particularly like the analogy of drains and radiators. I'll keep that in my head as we move on. So second we had Seán. Seán, is there anything, Seán Molloy, that you would like to address to Mark?
Yeah, especially now with like the coronavirus and the 3-4 month lockdown and stuff. I spent a lot of time practicing, like a lot, as I'm sure a lot of musicians did. I was just wondering, do you have any tips on maintaining good practice technique for long periods of time, like without getting tired? Sometimes, like if I sit down at 12 o'clock and I know I don't have to go anywhere for the day, I'll sit there and practice for 4 or 5 hours, but half of that might not be effective because all here is drained and my endurance is gone. So I was wondering if you had any tips on that.
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on it with you, Seán, earlier. Actually,
Yeah.
even the way we're in these screens, and we get closer, and our bodies are compromised, and we get rounded shoulders and sore backs and everything like that. So do you remember what we did earlier with you when you were sitting back doing the breathing pattern? Could you do that now just to remind yourself of what to do? Yeah, it feels much more comfortable, doesn't it? You don't need to be right into it. You can just be very easy. Then you add the trumpet to that, like we talked about earlier. But it's much more than that as well. That's just one thing you can be doing to remember to do it. There's much more than that. I think when I heard you say about you can sit down at 12 o'clock and do 4 or 5 hours practice, don't do that. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. No human being is capable of concentrating for that length of time. And if you're not concentrating on what you're practicing, it's not going to get better. Probably it's going to get worse. That's my one sentence answer to that. So what you can do, there's a bit crazy but a very interesting YouTube thing with Christian Lindberg, the trombone player. He talks about a day in the life of Christian Lindberg, and he says something like 24 minutes is the maximum we can concentrate for. Have a look at that if you get a chance. It's a short video about his life, and he talks about concentration and how he limits himself to 24 minutes of really intense practice. I'm not just saying, I noodle around and just do some scales and whatever. Really proper concentration, and then take 10 minutes off. He can have a run around. He jumps into the sea and has a quick swim because he lives right next to the sea, or he has a coffee or something, Then he comes back refreshed and he does another 24 minutes. And he does this throughout the day when he has time. But to sit down at 12 o'clock or whatever time and try and lower your expectations, Seán, because
yeah, I do take breaks. I'm not saying I sit down for 5 hours solid, but yeah,
okay.
It's just during lockdown I didn't have anything else to do, so
Sure, I'm very similar in that regards, despite having two crazy young boys in the house. It's difficult to find time practicing sometimes, and some people are motivated and some people aren't. And I've heard horror stories about people just not taking the instrument out of the box because they just have no motivation because there's no work. So you're lucky. You have that motivation, you have the time, and you enjoy practicing. I would say be careful of what you practice and how you practice it. Preparation is everything. So, if you're just doing one or two aspects of your playing and neglecting other aspects, we touched on that as well with you at the very beginning, about what you're practicing and how you're practicing it. Why are you doing such and such? Why are you doing Arbon stuff? What's that for? Are you trying to improve something? Or is it just to keep it kind of level and it's going to be the same every day and you're not going to get much better really? So push yourself in the types of practice you do. So I listed out a lot of stuff earlier about, are you doing double tonguing, hay tonguing? Are you doing slow slurs, fast slurs? Are you doing some studies? Are you mixing up the Clark routines a bit more, where you do week 1 you do 2 of them, and then week 2 you do 2 different ones or whatever? Mix it up so you're keeping your brain engaged as well as everything else. It's great that you have the time to practice. It's absolutely brilliant. But I think you could do a checklist. You could write out the types of things that you're not so good at and say, okay, I'm going to address those tomorrow. I'm going to do 5 minutes of that because I'm not very good at that. And you'll find the endurance thing will happen because you're playing healthily. You're sitting tall. you're doing good breathing patterns, and so your endurance will improve, your register will improve, your sound will improve, your slurs will improve. Everything will just go exponentially because you're a healthier. It's a physical sport again. If you walk to the swimming pool and then suddenly you decide to arch your shoulders, you're not going to swim a length very well, are you? So it's a very physically demanding thing that we do. So get yourself in the best place. You're in a good shape, I can tell already. You probably, I don't know if you exercise at all, but I think you probably do enough. So you're very lucky, and so use it to the best of your advantage.
Okay. Thank you.
Very long-winded answer, sorry.
Thank you, Seán and Mark. And then Seán Heary, anything that you would like to ask Mark before we move to a couple of questions that come in from our social media channels?
Yeah, so I have two questions, if that's okay. They kind of relate to what the two lads said. So the first one is, I just kind of want to pick your brains on how do you feel that orchestras will adapt to the new way of performance? Like, do you think that there'll be more live streams, a different repertoire, and kind of new opportunities for composers to come in and do stuff in like relation to like the social distancing and like the new, I suppose, areas that orchestra is performing now. And then the second one kind of relates to the posture and endurance again, because I feel like most things are online now. I spend most of the day, hunched over my desk, and like from that I can find it very difficult to get into the trumpet mindset. Like, I was wondering if you have any tips, like either be it breathing or stretching or even like some sort of focus or meditation to help you get into the mindset of playing trumpet.
Wow, okay, Sean, that's brilliant. Forgive me if I don't remember the questions, but they're really great questions. Answer to the first bit about adapting, orchestras adapting, they already are. So I'll give you the plug again. Tonight, live online, it's in socially distanced City Halls, Glasgow, and we're using all of the hall. In fact, we're using the far end of the hall for the brass fanfare, and we have our stand lights, and there's some cameras moving around and stuff, and it's being broadcast live. No audience in the hall, so we're playing to the whole world as we are now, potentially, but we're actually not playing to anyone, and it's a very strange mindset. It's a very strange thing to play to nobody, but potentially to play to everybody. And that's where we're at. We've already adapted. And the second half of the concert then is in, there's a string piece in the first half by John Adams, Shaker Loops, and then the second half is Schumann 2. And we're so far apart, which brings up another issue, if you like. So where the trumpets sit at the back of the orchestra and trombones, we're right at the back. So the distance from the conductor is even further away than it used to be. Now, already it was a problem because they would hear us a little bit late, perhaps. So we're already adapting to trying to be in time with the first violins, for example, because we will sound behind the way sound travels. It's going to be a bit slower. So we're having to make up even more of that discrepancy, and that took a few weeks, I would say, to kind of get into that. By being given feedback by the conductor or our colleagues talking about it. So do you hear us behind now, or are we late, or are we early or whatever? So that's a whole issue in itself, but we are adapting. People are capable of adapting. Musicians are capable of adapting because we're using our ears all the time, and if we're not, we should be. But our ears are our best friend when we're making music. And that is showing up big time now. That is really a challenge that we're really having to hear. Even so, I would normally sit about a couple of meters away from the tuba player, maybe 4 meters perhaps, and now I'm about 16 meters away very often. And if you think about the brass being built up from the tuba, trombones, horns, trumpets, the first trumpet in total opposite from the tuba in terms of the register. But it's the most fundamental part that I need to latch onto, and I'm further and further away from that. It's potentially a problem. But because we have ears and we're So basically, I think we're becoming better musicians because of it. And if you think about you've all been doing recordings probably at home, and some to click tracks and some without, and that you're trying to piece things together from your own homes. I think that has made me a better musician, because I don't want to put in a recording that I've done unless it's like really well in tune with a decent trumpet sound that I can work with, or that they can work with, whoever they are, the sound engineers or whatever. And if it's slightly out of time, if there's one note just a little bit like, oh, that didn't quite match up, listening back. So I'll do it again, and I'll practice a bit more for it. And I'll think, okay, I need to look after this and this and this. Sound, intonation, and rhythm. There are three basic things that we have to work with, mostly sound. So, all these recordings that we're doing, I think they've made us better musicians. I'm going off on a tangent, Seán. I'm really sorry. What was the rest of the question?
No, that was pretty much it.
Oh, you talked about some tips as well for reading habits.
Like, just ones for like when you're sitting in a chair, and you have to be sitting in a chair for X amount of time.
Sure. So I would just ask myself, am I sitting like I would stand? So are you sitting right now? And immediately you sat back when I said that, because you visualize yourself standing, don't you? If you're standing tall, okay, I'm now going to sit down like that, and I'm still tall. That's the main thing. There's lots of stuff about Alexander technique, about having an imaginary hook here, and there's a piece of rope pulling you up, and you're not being stretched, but you're just tall enough so you're comfortable, but you're still feeling that you're attached to the ceiling of your bedroom or your living room or your kitchen or wherever you are. So you go out, you walk around like that, and add the trumpet to that tallness. And are we sitting like that when we're playing?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Seán and Mark. Just before we take a couple of questions, if I can give our own little plug for streaming concerts. And obviously the National Symphony Orchestra is streaming on Friday evenings. So please do tune into that. And also look out for the NCH Classical Live Stream series. And we have a performance actually this evening with the Irish Chamber Orchestra and Kevin Hansen on piano. So there is still plenty going on. And of course, in this series, we have the fourth and final masterclass in the Autumn Masterclass series. And that is a harp masterclass with Gene Kelly. So first time we've done a harp masterclass. We're very much looking forward to that. We have a couple of questions in, Mark, from our social channels. So Garrett asks, hello, Mark, really enjoyable sessions. As someone in their late 40s who took up trumpet about a year ago, what sage advice could you give to a beginner?
Whoa, okay, Gareth, that's great. First of all, I would be listening. You've probably been listening to music already, and you probably love music already. So listening is a great way in. So listen to your favorite. Don't listen to bad stuff. Listen to good stuff that you deem good. And I don't know if you play jazz or classical or pop stuff or whatever. Whatever it is that you enjoy listening to, that's your way in. And try and copy what you hear is the next stage of that. And that's not so easy to do. How am I supposed to copy? So if living in Scotland, I've probably picked up a bit of a Scottish accent. I'm not sure if I have or not, but it becomes apparent at certain times. But I'm still Irish. But when I spend time in Ireland, when I used to spend time in Ireland before 8 months ago, then my Irish accent would get stronger. I'd come back to Scotland and people would be like, oh, you're definitely Irish now. So, we listen to stuff and we absorb it. And in a way, that's what we do as musicians as well. We try and copy what we hear. So you can listen to Håkan Hardenberger and try and copy his sound. You will never be his sound, but you'll get towards that, if that makes sense. So listening is the first thing I mentioned earlier about ears being your best friend as musicians. Keep things simple as well. So when you are playing, keep it within your own sort of, if it's 5 notes you're able to play from C to G perhaps, just make up tunes, improvise a lot, or play tunes that have those 5 notes in there. If you want to expand it to an octave, push yourself gradually, that's fine. If you want to do 3 octaves, great. I'll come to you for lessons then. So, don't limit yourself, but start where you're comfortable and make a good sound. This is a big subject, of course, and we don't have time to go into every aspect of trumpet playing, but these are general things. Copy what you hear by listening, and keep working on your sound and your register. Play tunes that are familiar to you, and then go outside of your comfort zone a little bit.
Thank you very much. And another question from Patrick. Trumpet is an instrument that is very easily affected by my nerves. Any tips for controlling the physical effects of nerves on the instrument?
Oh, I thought he meant like the trumpet gets on his nerves. That's okay. It gets on my nerves too. But I said earlier to Seán about nerves, and I think the best thing we can do is accept that we're going to get nervous. Nerves is like a reaction to the adrenaline that pumps through our body. I'm not a scientist, so I'm doing a very general kind of my take on nerves. It's the extra adrenaline that we get that pumped around our body, and then we feel quite shaky and we can't control our breathing, and our muscles are doing their own thing. So shaking it out generally is a very good physical way of doing it, like we did earlier with Seán Heary. Shaking all the tensions out and kind of finding where it's most comfortable. Accepting that you're going to get nervous, I think, is a big part of breathing through it. So some slow breathing, perhaps. I like the idea of breathing through my nose and then out through my mouth very slowly. There's a book also. If you haven't heard of the Wim Hof method, I'm in the middle of this at the moment, and I've got the app, the breathing app by Wim Hof. He's known as the Iceman. There's some interesting ideas on breathing and controlling your breath on that as well, which I've been working on a little bit in the last couple of weeks, which is interesting. I think it does help nerves, because what you're doing in the guided breathing method is you're slowing everything down, of course, and it change. I think he mentions in the book about you changing the ratio between acid and alkaline in your body. So by doing the guided breathing method, you're getting into a state of more calm, basically. So you're able to go for that little bit longer when you do a breath hold. Now, breath hold and trumpet don't really mix, because if you hold something back, you're not able to blow. So it's not that sort of breath hold I'm talking about. But as a tool in itself, it's a fairly useful thing to be able to do. So trumpet and Wim Hof maybe don't mix so well, but it's an interesting thing to do.
Thank you very much, Mark. And maybe if we could we have possibly time for one more question, if that's okay. And David asks, can I ask one quick question on your percentage practice with the trumpet on your face, and percentage either listening, visualizing, working without the trumpet? Apologies if this has already been addressed.
No, it hasn't been addressed. I never thought of the percentages. I just kind of tend to do it. So I think Dave's talking about mental practice as opposed to the physicality of playing it on your face. It's a difficult one to measure, I would say, and there's been an awful lot of research into the idea of mental practice and what that is. I think the idea of this thing we hear about, singing in the shower. I'm a brilliant singer in the shower, so I think when we wake up, we potentially start thinking about music. If you think about your voice as being a musical instrument, we say words, we say things, but we also think about those words. We think about what we're going to say to our boss when we get into work. We think about what we said to our partners the night before. We think about communicating, and music is that. Music is a communication. So one could argue we're always thinking about music. I know this is a little bit far-fetched, a bit wacky, but I think there is something in that. And I don't think you necessarily have to do 2 hours of physical practice when you can be doing maybe 1 hour of physical practice and 1 hour of visualizing things, like visualizing yourself on the stage of the hall, visualizing how that passage of music that you're working on, how that might go if you were to sing it through. Because we did a bit of singing from Leo. I think everyone did a little bit of singing at one point. So that's like forming in your brain the ideal of how you'd like the music to go when you do finally pick up the trumpet. I've never measured it in percentages. I'm sorry, I'm not much used to that answer. But as a general thing to do, mental practice is good.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And thank you so much, Mark, for a really insightful and really interesting masterclass. I'm sure our 3 participants got lots out of it, and certainly feedback has been great. And I really enjoyed hearing your comments, and particularly your comments on the mental side of music as well as the physical. So thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we hope to have you back, hopefully in person the next time. But I think this session has worked very well, and we are very grateful to all of you for taking part. We have, as I mentioned earlier, the final in our masterclass series next Thursday at the different time of 2:30 p.m. That's our harp masterclass with Jean Kelly. So please do join us for that. Otherwise, I would just say to Seán, and Leo, thank you very much for joining us and for playing. And a huge thank you again to Mark O'Keefe for this masterclass today. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you again soon.